everyone, my name is Kamara Demesma, and today we'll be discussing leadership development in youth athletes. Next slide. Alright, so for some people, leadership comes naturally. For others, it's a skill that's learned throughout their lives. So what does it mean to be a leader? What do you guys think?
You take charge of any situation.
Take charge of the situation. Great. Any other ideas?
To be in control and in charge.
To be in control and in charge. Yes.
Being an example of what you're trying to get accomplished.
Be an example. Awesome. All awesome answers. So a leader is someone with the ability to control a team or a crowd. They can command a room, and they can convince others that what they're saying is important or correct. So they can be trustful, a trustful guide. They can be a role model. A leader is someone who is also a team player. And most importantly, a leader is not a bully. There are ways to be a boss without being bossy. Okay? It's important for young individuals to get these leadership skills on as early as possible. These skills are often learned through sports and other extracurricular activities. This will help young individuals develop these skills and learn so they can have them as they grow older, and they can potentially use these skills in school and later on in the workplace. Next slide. So there are many different styles of leadership. In fact, there are over 60 different leadership classifications. Okay? So today, I want to briefly discuss different models and theories, 5 different models and theories of leadership. Okay? These models are all well suited for youth athletes as well. These 5 models and theories include transformational leadership, leader-member exchange, multi-dimensional model of leadership, the leadership challenge, and achievement goal theory. So, transactional leadership. Transactional leadership assumes that everything already in place is already accurate and nothing needs to be changed. So it focuses mostly on stability and maintaining the existing techniques and goals. Okay? For transformational leadership, is the exact opposite. Transformational leadership, on the other hand, assumes that change is necessary. In fact, it assumes that whatever plans are already in place need to be replaced completely. So it focuses on change and challenging those existing techniques and goals. So next up is leader-membership exchange. Leader-member exchange focuses solely on relationships. It assumes that the relationship between the leader and the player and their followers can be very telling. Observing this relationship can predict the likelihood of the development of leadership skills. It can also be a foreshadower of the overall success of the group or the team. Okay. Yes, next slide. Okay. So next up is our multidimensional model of leadership. The multidimensional model of leadership functions under the assumption that the ratio of coaches' behavior to athletes' preference can help determine overall performances and satisfaction of the team. When coaches' actions align with the preferences of the athletes, this is referred to as congruence. So congruence is the key to successful leadership development skills and leader-member relationships. Also, mental toughness is a characteristic that's become more to the forefront of sports life and leadership. It was found that athletes who were considered mentally tough had a preference for training and instruction-centered behaviors from their coaches. So our next model of leadership is the leadership challenge, which happens to be one of the ones that I found most interesting myself. So, within the leadership challenge, there are 5 leadership practices. These practices include model the way, inspire a shared vision, challenge the process, enable others to act, and encourage the heart. So, model the way simply refers to being a role model and displaying the behaviors that you want to be seen in your team. Things that you are looking for your team members or group members to mirror in their actions. Inspire a vision is referring to setting goals and and recruiting help to achieve those goals. Challenge the process. Discusses taking risks and enabling others. Taking risks and disputing the present circumstances. Okay? In other words, change what's going on. Don't just take what it is as what it is. Moving on to enabling others to act. This is discussing establishing trust within team members and working together to reach the common goal. And lastly, encourage the heart. This refers to encouraging team members and celebrating the impact that they have and celebrating their wins, whether they're big or small. According to Granzall, Curlis, and Drain, their article that they wrote in 2010, those who found themselves in the team captain role often had higher levels of these 5 practices than the team members who didn't have that leadership role. Okay. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and pause here for a second. As you can see, I have some questions for you guys. So first thing first, please raise your hand if you have ever held a leadership or team captain role. Okay, great. All right, so can you tell me what group or team you were leading?
I was actually president of a local chapter for my sorority.
Okay, awesome. So, can you tell me what your experience was, and is there anything you think you could have done better in that role?
My experience was challenging because the people that I had to lead were all educated women who all pretty much have type A personalities, who all think that they can have a leadership role even though it's not their role. So in my capacity as president, I had to learn how to not take things personal and to be able to guide them and have some buy-in. And knowing that at the time, I think I was one of the youngest people to have been president, so it took extra coddling to some of the older people, and so they all supported me, and I was able to have a buy-in and make sure that they were all able to make it an even playing field, so everybody felt like they were part of what was going on.
Okay, awesome. So you had a really good experience for the most part. Might have been challenging, but you succeeded.
Yes.
All right. Anybody else that had any leadership roles? Yes.
I was captain of my baseball team and basketball team.
Okay, all right. So what was your experience like, and what do you think you could have done better?
The basketball, it went pretty good, but my baseball, everybody wasn't too good on the team, and I didn't really encourage everyone all the time, but
Okay.
it kind of got frustrating at some points.
Right, understandable. So it can get frustrating at times, but it's nice to kind of have that compassion and empathy to go ahead and try to, get everybody on the same page.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you guys. Anybody else? All right, so we're gonna go ahead and move on. All right. So our next model of leadership is achievement goal theory. So achievement goal theory has a major focus on goals, as can be guessed by its name. So it focuses on the individual goals themselves, in addition to the social context in which those goals have been molded and inspired. Okay. Studies have shown that building constructive relationships with people who are not family or people who are not related to you is likely to minimize negative behaviors. Okay? Therefore, joining a team and building a bond with those individuals can be very beneficial to more than just the leadership aspect of life and growing up. So now we're going to go into talking about leadership for the youth. Again, it is important that the earlier you learn, the better you have, the more time you have to develop those skills before they become life and career necessities. Typically, sports and extracurricular activities provide those opportunities and experiences that encourage that leadership skills in young people. Okay? And lastly, don't be afraid if your name is called to take on that leadership role. Embrace that experience and learn from it. Personally, I was never super comfortable in a leadership role. However, I never turned that role down. I always knew, even if I didn't do well, it was a learning experience. So I encourage you all to take the same approach as well. Yes.
I'd like to ask you, personally for yourself, where have you been a leader, and what different organizations, and what did it look like?
Great question. So I have held multiple leadership roles. My very first leadership role was as cheer captain. This was many moons ago. However, this was something that I took pride in. I also held leadership roles in the NAACP Youth Council that I was chairing multiple events, such as our Black History event, our Mother's Day event. And the one that I think I learned the most in was in my work study position in my undergrad. I was a manager, so I managed crews of 10 to 12 people at soccer games and basketball games, and kind of make sure everyone was doing their job and make sure everything ran smoothly. Our job in general was to make sure the entire event ran without a hiccup, so it was a lot of pressure, but it worked. And my most recent is being a teacher in the classroom. I'm leading these elementary school kids every day, different kids. I'm a substitute, so I see a lot of different kids every day. But being able to just kind of insert myself into their everyday life and be that person for them in the classroom. Answer your question?
Yeah, it does, but you seem very young, so working with elementary kids, how is that for you? Is that a challenge for you to be a leader? Some of them might look at you as like a sister, or...
It definitely started off as a challenge. A lot of kids would come to me and say, "Oh, hey, you look like my sister," or "Oh, you look like this person," or "You must be a teenager. How old are you? 16?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm 23." I don't tell them that, but just kind of having to establish my adulthood in the classroom, establish that respect with a bunch of kids who kind of just, they see a substitute and they want to play around, and I gotta kind of come in and wrangle them in, make sure, hey, we're still on the same track. Just because the teacher's not here doesn't mean you don't have to follow the rules. You still have work to get done. Let's knock it out. So yeah, it definitely started off as a challenge, but it's gotten a lot better over the past year.
And I think I heard you say that you, as an undergrad, you worked with athletes before.
I did.
What was that like?
It was interesting. Athletes are very needy. Athletes tend to be very needy. However, I actually really enjoyed the experience, being that I enjoy sports very much. It was mostly the administration, people who were above me, that were a little on edge. They were very nitpicky about all the little details, which I understand. But overall, I really cherished that experience because it not only solidified my passion for working in sports, but the people I met were really amazing. My coworkers are to this day my family. So yeah.
Good.
Any other questions? All right, we're gonna go on to the next slide. All right, so in conclusion, do not think just because you were not born with the leadership skills that you can't be a leader. You can always learn. There are plenty of opportunities to gain those experiences and learn the necessary skills. Also, as we discussed earlier, it's very important to get started early. So the sooner you get started, the better chances you have at developing those skills, so that you can use them early on, later on in life. Also, engaging in youth sports and other activities is usually a very helpful tool to accomplish that. So if you want to start developing those skills, get involved as early as you can. Start with youth football, basketball, baseball, or any other extracurricular activity. It doesn't necessarily have to be sports, but any other extracurricular activity where you're working with other people. Okay? And lastly, remember what it means to be a leader. Be trustworthy, confident, be a role model for others, be compassionate, and most importantly, don't be a bully. Okay? Thank you all for your time. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
So in the beginning of your presentation, I think you had 5 leadership skills. I can't remember, transformational, transactional, and
Yeah, those are the theories. Yes.
Which one of those are the most effective?
Well, it's kind of up in the air right now. Personally, I like the leadership challenge because it kind of broke it down into different, like 5 different practices to help kind of come together. But it really depends. Right now, I don't know if there is one that's most effective because different things are for different people.
I can't see how, I think it was it transactional, the one that they come in and change everything, is that one? Or
Transformational.
Transformational. So I just don't see how that can be effective at all, just coming in and changing everything. You don't see any good.
Well, maybe not changing everything, but just seeing where change is needed.
Okay.
And being able to challenge what's already there and kind of come in and say, hey, you know what, maybe this isn't the best idea. Let's go ahead and reform that.
That reminds me of like, I took a class in organizational psychology,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the things that I learned is that when companies have to have people come in and out for training is very expensive.
Yes.
So they would go in and develop like a transformational change,
Yeah.
to go in and change the things that weren't working.
Right. Exactly.
So I think that when you said that, it just put me in that mind frame. It's like, okay, the company isn't making money, so it isn't working. So sometimes they have to go in and just kind of revamp everything.
Yeah.
But
it's necessary. If
I
it's
think
not,
it
if,
was-
if it's broken, you gotta fix it.
But it was, again, more effective when they got the buy-in, like you said earlier, from the participants or from the employees that were also a part of the company or the organization.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you guys so much for your time and for your
Thank you.
participation. I really appreciate it, and hope you all have a great day.
Great job.